I believe we are live everywhere except on Instagram. And I am just getting Instagram up and running.
Okay.
All right. Fabulous. Okay. So, welcome everyone to another Inspiration Behind the Stories with Gina Bright. And I'm sure anyone who's been watching these, they're probably sick of me saying this, but it's true. Gina, your manuscript was another one that like we fought over who would actually have the opportunity to work with you because we loved it so much. So
nice.
so it's really fun for me to like have a chance to chat with you about like what inspired you to write. And I know I'm gonna say this wrong and I apologize. The CHARON Club or the CHARON Club?
I think it's usually pronounced CHARON after the.
So I'm completely off.
That's right. After the figure in Greek mythology.
Oh, that would make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. My apologies.
No problem.
So, but like, let's just like go right into it. What was the moment that made you say, I have got to write this book?
Yeah, and I actually tried to avoid that moment for a long time because my first book, which is nonfiction, in 2012, was about really and nonfiction and kind of theoretical, but a general audience, they really enjoyed that also. But really, I focused on, because I was an AIDS nurse for almost 8 years in New York City before we had any therapy that helped AIDS people with AIDS live and survive the way that they do now today. Thank goodness. And that book was, first of all, I mean, my time on that unit was incredibly. I mean, it was fulfilling, certainly at the time, but kind of the after effects. It's kind of like being a Vietnam War veteran in many ways. So after I finished that first book, I really did not want to look at anything that had to do with AIDS again. But in 2018, there was this novel by Rebecca Mackay called The Great Believers, which is fantastic. And that focuses on people who, suffered from HIV and AIDS primarily in the 80s and 90s and died. And it's focused on the Chicago art scene. And then they're survivors years later, like 20, 30 years later, and where they are and how they have dealt with, that all of that suffering. So I finished that book in the summer of 2020. I'm sorry, summer of 2018. And I thought, I really just didn't feel like the nurses were captured, that really wasn't, it wasn't the focus of her novel either. And it was at that moment that I said, I think I need to write a novel. And I think that would be the best way to do it, about what we nurses experienced during those times.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So, I mean, you basically already let us know. So like what first sparked the story?
Mm-hmm.
And I know we published this a little while ago, but like, why do you feel the story is important now?
Gosh, and so that's interesting. That's an interesting question in itself, Lisa, because everybody who has read this novel, especially nurses, but also other people, like, they're like, how did you know another infectious disease was coming? Well, I did not. And that's how, so in order to write the novel, I wanted to frame it in a way and have a story in a way that was going to kind of, stimulate people to read about AIDS, because it was not a pleasant subject, certainly back then. Anyway, I created my own virus. I mean, it's actually a virus that it affects the bovine population, pig population, but I made it so that it could jump to humans. And this was the new kind of what could be a potential pandemic in the novel. And I did that so I could get my AIDS nurses back together again over like trying to find a cure for another infectious disease. What I did not know in 2018 or 2019 until about February of 2020, when we all started learning about COVID, is that this was, if it was going to be picked up for publication, and thank goodness Running Wild Press picked it up, that it was going to be, very relevant to what we were all living with during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And of course, the novel came out when we were more under control with COVID, but still, I think I think a lot of people feel that when
I
they
agree.
read.
I mean, that's the feedback I've gotten as well, is that when individuals, when they read it, they felt like it was very reflexive. That's right.
It's a good reflective, yeah, reflective, yeah.
Of exactly what occurs when something of that significance, of that prominence occurs. And I mean, we were just honored to be able to publish it. So
I'm just so happy that you did, because I really, really wanted to get this story out there. And I still don't feel, I mean, I've had, plenty of my people in the medical field have been interested in it and have read it, but I still feel that, like, I don't know, I could do more with trying to get it out to the non-medical field.
And I agree. I think we can. And again, for anyone who's watching, just to be clear, this month, for the month of March, the CHARON Club is currently available in ebook form for 99 cents. So this is a great opportunity to check it out. We're doing it for Women's History Month. So definitely, please, like, if you have a chance, definitely pick it up. Now, what question were you obsessed with while you were writing the story? And do you feel as though you had the opportunity to answer, if that makes sense?
I think the overriding question, as I continued to write, and then when I was done writing, was this going to be appealing to a non-medical audience, to a non-medical reader? And I think certainly in terms of the non-medical readers I have in my life, who I know, I think it was. I think that they did not feel alienated by all of the medical events in the novel, and being at the bedside, and what we do when patients, are really sick, and trying to get them back to health, or helping them to their graves, however, whichever direction that's going in. But that was the biggest question. And then also, I think I wanted to make sure that I captured nurses, what we do every day. And my nurse friends and colleagues have assured me that I have done that. So that makes me very happy.
Oh, excellent. And even though I am not a nurse, I agree. I do believe that you captured it absolutely beautifully. So
well, thank you. Thank you.
And just to back up, so who is the story about, the novel itself? Like, who's the story about, and what's at stakes if things go wrong?
So the novel is primarily about, I created 9 nurse characters who are, based on, no one is based on one single nurse who I've ever worked with, but I've taken, bits and pieces from nurses I've worked with over the years, and created 9 characters. And I wanted them to be a diverse group of people, because that really is what AIDS nurses were. We were a very diverse group of people. So I have, Black, brown, white, gay, heterosexual, and also a transgendered character, who I really made that character Cal. And that's kind of based on somebody who I worked with, just one part of her character. But anyway, what is at stake is that this new virus has emerged, and what I call the National Health Center, which is really the equivalent of the NIH, they're noticing that more and more people are coming in to a respiratory unit, a lung unit, with symptoms that they can't find what the virus is, or the bacteria. So this new kind of mystery, new disease. And they start to get nervous, because I have a VIP patient which is of course totally fictitious, but I have the Vice President of the United States' son get this, what we don't know what it is yet. So that kind of provoked the National Health Center to really focus on finding what the cause of this is, so they can find the cure, and so that this doesn't turn into another pandemic like AIDS did, and like, of course, COVID did, which I did not know about as I was writing it. So and then of course, this group of patients who I have who are contracting this new virus that we don't know about yet, most of them are white men, and they're kind of pretty ugly in their political views. Certainly not a diverse group of people. They're racist, quite frankly. So the nurses at the National Health Center are having a very hard time taking care of them. Nobody wants to take care of somebody who's that difficult and, quite frankly, distasteful. So one of the infectious disease doctors there, Gerald, he says, you know what, I know if there are any AIDS nurses around, they may be willing to come in and help us try to get answers to questions that will lead to the discovery of this virus, hopefully, if it is a virus. So that's how I get the AIDS nurses there. The AIDS quilt in its entirety is being shown for the last time. I have it because I have it set which is also the other eerie thing about the novel. I have it set as if, the current president was entering a second term. He was elected again. And we know that we had an interregnum in there. But anyway, and that, things are politically kind of oppressive, and the AIDS quilt is going to be on display for the last time because he doesn't want to, and the government doesn't want to even kind of recognize that's a part of our history. So so the doctor says to the nursing supervisor, let's get these nurses together. Let's see how many show up at the quilt. And so that's how I get my 9 nurses to come together. Okay. And then what is at stake is that if they do not find, this is the way it goes with infectious diseases, right? Like if they don't find it sooner than later, what the cause of this is, it's going to turn into a full-blown epidemic, at least starting with an epidemic.
Wow. And what kind of an emotional ride should a reader anticipate as they're experiencing the story?
Well, I think so. Based on everything, most people, nobody has ever said to me, I was very depressed, because there's a lot of death in the novel. We dealt with a lot of death. I dealt with a lot of death. There's a lot of death in the novel, but there's also humor. The nurses, they're fun, they're not like, depressed and not by any means. It's also this just trying to find the cause of the virus. It's kind of like a medical thriller. So we have that emotion there also. And
wow.
Yeah. And I do think laughter.
Oh my gosh, that sounds actually fabulous. Now, you've already brought up several topics that, I can only imagine were incredibly difficult to address. Even just in terms of going back and just re-experiencing those types of situations. What do you feel as though was the hardest part to write?
I would say the death scenes. There are a few of them in the novel. And the final death scene, which happens probably 30 pages away from the end of the novel, I was actually writing that as my little dog was dying. So that was, and that like tapped back into, every all of the other deaths that I have dealt with my patients over the years. But they were hard to write because I had to be objective enough to write it. And, I wanted to get that I wanted to be very accurate in those scenes, what it's like when someone is dying.
Oh, and if this is too much of a question, you don't have to answer it. What kind of research did you do? Like, I can only imagine minimally, just even your poor little dog who was passing away, but like, what did you do to get that kind of depth of information for those?
Well, now the depth of information for quite frankly, for all of the medical scenes, and of course the death scenes, I did not have to do research because that's what I have lived as a nurse for many decades now.
Understood.
So, but wow. I certainly did do research for the novel. I didn't have to do that type of research.
God.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It was enough.
Right? Oh my goodness.
Oh, and then I did go out to, I think I've told you that on another interview that we had, Lisa. I did go to California because California, San Francisco, Unit 5B at San Francisco General Hospital was the first AIDS unit in the country. So, of course, they've been closed a long time now, but they kept in their archives, in the public library archives, they have all of the what they called a remembrance book. They kept like a ledger of all of the patients who they took care of. And there are a lot of like films, because there were a lot of movie stars like Elizabeth Taylor who went there to visit the patients. And so that was great. And then I had met the librarian at San Francisco Public Library in the archives, introduced me to Allison Mohead, who is one of the first AIDS nurses in the country. She worked at San Francisco General on 5B.
Wow.
Yeah, that
That's
was,
phenomenal.
yeah, I know. That was, we had dinner together, and it was, it was great. It was great meeting a fellow nurse, a fellow AIDS nurse from the West Coast. And yeah, it was, I learned from that. I wanted to also capture West Coast nurses, because it was not just an East Coast disease, right? It was, certainly San Francisco and LA suffered a great deal too.
Oh yeah,
so that,
absolutely.
yeah, that was good.
And where were you in your life as you were writing and like really crafting the story?
Yeah, I was still, I think I was in research. I'm still, because I work full time as a nurse. I was in research at that time, in oncology research. That's where I was professionally. And I would say it seemed to me that I almost needed to write this story in order to move past more, to be able to come to terms more with what I've experienced in the past. So I do think that is what happened. I think that was the moment, 2018 when I started doing the research, 2019 really writing in through 2020 when the pandemic was in full force. I do think that the more and more isolated we became, as a country, in terms of quarantining and all of that, that really had an effect. I felt like I was kind of in a real like infectious disease bubble, between the novel and what was going on. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Do you feel as though, I was going to ask how the writing changed you, which you already kind of answered, but do you feel as though this helped you in terms of, almost like someone who's going through PTSD, where you're just trying to.
That's correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's right, Lisa. And I do. We can call it that. For a long time, I didn't want to call it anything. It was something I just kept in the past. It came up from time to time, but it does come up. It's there. It's a part of me, and it is PTSD from dealing with that many deaths. And I do think the novel helped me at least come to an acceptance of being damaged, and that is okay.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just thrilled you were able to have that outlet. Because yeah, I can only imagine. What surprised you most while you were writing the story?
That's a good question. What did surprise me the most? I think I was surprised by. To me, I thought I wrote it rather swiftly. As I work full time, it took me maybe close to 2 years to actually write it, and like my first book, my nonfiction book, took much longer than that. So I think I was surprised that the story came together that quickly for me.
Got it. Oh wow, yeah, that's lovely. 2 years that's a nice. That's not bad.
Yeah, right. It's not bad for working full time.
Exactly. Seriously. Was there a character that you felt was the most challenging to write, and was there one that you really felt like you really embraced as if it was like a part of you, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Certainly, the main character, Sophia, I certainly feel like she's the biggest part of me is in her. So yeah. And that was good. But I also feel that there were other characters who, certainly I felt very, very connected to. Cal in particular, my transgendered character. She's wonderful. I really enjoyed creating that character. what I was with this, I think the hardest characters were all of the white supremacists in the novel, and you know, the especially the vice president's son who
Mm.
gets sick with this virus, and I had to make somebody kind of come out of the that white supremacy and see that the world of diversity and inclusion is just a lot better, and that was him. So at least I got to do that with that character. I needed that to be somewhere.
I was going to say what a wonderful narrative arc for that character.
Thank
for
you.
them to have that experience and to realize how accepting others for who they are is actually better than being a jerk.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I think so. Sophia, my main nurse character, or you know, one of them, but really the premier one, she takes care of him a lot, and I think that she really tries to teach him as she nurses for him during the night, that you know, this is a much more rewarding course to take than staying stuck in that kind of racism.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Was there anything within the storyline that almost didn't make it into the book, and then why did you decide to keep it in?
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, my husband Mike, you know, we met in graduate school, and he teaches English. He teaches college English at a community college, and he was also an editor for a long time for the Humane Society. So he's always like my first reader. You know, that's it. Before I send it out for publication, anything, he's always my first reader.
Mm.
And there is one big scene when we really get to almost the heart of where this virus has come from and how it is spreading. And it's a pretty violent scene. It's in the president's his dinner theaters that he owns.
Mm.
And it is the way that his immigration program, of course, I didn't know that then either. It's not quite like that now, but the immigration program is to literally have Mexicans in particular come on stage, and they're shot by whoever pays to do that.
Oh
my husband said to me, Mike, he's like, that seems not believable. That's just never, it's not, he didn't say take it out, but he's like, I don't believe that. I said, yeah, you don't believe that now. Just wait. And then my editor, your editor, Abigail, she did not feel that way. I said, let's see what the editor says before I take that out. So I'm very happy that made it in.
I love that Abby kept it in. I mean, my goodness. I mean, not that I don't love that that's occurring. I just, that it's so reflexive of reality, you know? So
sure is now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, sadly.
Yeah. Sadly, it's right.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you had actually included in the book that for whatever reason it didn't make it?
That's a good question. I cannot recall anything in particular that I thought about putting in the book and it did not make it in.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's lovely. Because honestly, nine narrative threads, I mean, 9 major characters, that's a rather complex storyline. So it's fabulous that you were able to keep in so many great diverse narrative threads throughout it. That's phenomenal.
Thank you, Lisa. that was challenging. I mean, it was challenging to do that, to make sure that I kept everyone going and intermeshing, and yeah.
I mean, there are people who have a hard time with one primary character. I mean, pulling off 9 is incredible. You know.
Now, I don't think all 9 are developed. Like Sophia, that's a shit. There's a lot of depth there. There's a lot of depth with Cal's character. And oh yeah, I would say some of the older nurses that I have in the novel. One is named Linda, and Sura. I think I did some depth with the more depth with them too. So maybe it's like half of those characters who I feel are really kind of deeply developed. It was I don't have enough room to get to do that with
That's
all
a
nine.
series,
Yeah,
right?
right.
um Now, who do you feel would actually fall the hardest for this book?
I think people in the medical field probably are, they still remain the top, yeah, the top audience who really, when they do read it, they find it to be, moving and realistic. And
Oh, well, I mean, that's huge. That's enormous. Um, is there anything that like readers come back to you and say, "Oh my gosh, I totally was not expecting that."
I think, well, non-medical readers have told me that they feel like they're right at the bedside with the nurses as I'm talking about them taking care of patients. So
Wow.
that made me feel very, very good. The nurses say that too, but they're nurses. But the non-medical people, readers who I've had, that they have told me that.
Oh, wow, that's brilliant. Um, Now, if someone was reading, like, let's say the first 20 pages or so, what keeps them going?
First and foremost, I think the pigs that I introduced very early on, they're like, what the heck is going to happen with these pigs? That's the source of the virus. So yeah, I've been told that by a few people, the pigs.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Um, okay. Is What kind of mood do you think a reader should be in when they dive into this storyline?
I think a reader should have an open mind going into
Mm,
this story, an open mind.
yeah, agreed.
And yeah, and
They'll,
just, yeah, just get to know these characters. And yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and especially if someone goes into it with more of an open mind, I think they'll get a lot more out of it and like all around. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Um, in one sentence, why should someone pick up this book?
To understand to understand not only what nurses do,
Mm,
but to understand what it means to take care of patients who the average person never ever even wants to meet.
mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And really now I can say this, what it means to be a nurse during a pandemic.
Mm. Wow, that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you want to, anything else, anything you want to add, anything that you want to leave our viewers with?
I just I hope, I'll tell you, like I said, this novel, my novel was inspired in part by Mackay's The Great Believers, and I mean, that's an AIDS novel also, so that's great. I think that it's important to, certainly introduce yourself to that kind of literature, just so you have an idea of what people like nurses, and of course doctors too, but nurses, really nurses, because we're the ones who are there 24/7 with the patients. How how challenging and rewarding it is to take care of diseases that nobody really wants to deal with. And I really, really hope, as have not met any nurses who have been, were COVID nurses during that pandemic. I really hope some of them come to learn about my novel, and I believe it will speak to them also, and give them solace that there is life on the other side of it. You notice we're not hearing anything from COVID nurses right now, because I think they are where we were as AIDS nurses in the late 90s and early 2000s, trying to just digest what had happened. And I think this novel could help them do that.
Oh, beautifully put. Absolutely. Agreed. And for anyone who's watching, know that you can pick up this brilliant novel. I have a link to the Goodreads link in the title line. Again, ebook is available for 99 cents. You can also get the paperback, and I believe the audio book is
Audio, and I've had a few people who have they like the audio.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she did a great job, Lisa. Yeah, she did a great job with the
And
narration. Yeah.
oh yeah, absolutely, definitely go pick it up. Again, Gina, thank you so much for writing such a gorgeous story.
Thank you
And
for publishing it, Lisa. Thank you.
completely our pleasure. And we look forward to your follow-up. You know, you have to do that.
Yes. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.